Picture this, it's 1945, a crystal clear day, 5 Navy planes fly into a blue sky and just vanish. Literally gone without a trace. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking on what is arguably the most deceptively famous and feared stretch of water on the planet, the Bermuda Triangle. It's widely regarded as the most deadly, mysterious place on Earth, right? I mean, books have been written, blockbuster movies have been filmed, and scientists have clamored to explain the seemingly unexplainable. Well, today, we're going to deconstruct the myth, pull back the curtain, and look squarely at the hard facts.
To really get why this hype exists, we gotta look at the numbers. 20. That is the staggering pop culture claim of how many fully functional airplanes have just vanished into thin air while flying over this patch of ocean. 1 minute they're on the radar, and the next, poof, gone.
And hey, the terror isn't just up in the sky. Add 50 massive ships to that list. We're talking freighters, cargo vessels, and sailboats, all just completely swallowed by the depths of the ocean without leaving so much as a piece of driftwood behind.
But honestly, what really captures our collective imagination is the human cost. Hundreds of people, sailors, pilots, and just ordinary passengers disappeared without a trace. It's this incredibly high human stake that makes the legends so terrifying and so enduring. We aren't just talking about lost machinery here. We are talking about lost lives.
So how exactly does all this happen in a location that doesn't even officially exist? Yeah, that's the first major plot twist of our explainer. The Bermuda Triangle, which is this roughly million-square-mile area vaguely bounded by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, isn't even recognized on official United States maps. There is no agreed-upon boundary. It's just this invisible, unofficial graveyard. Section 1. Centuries of vanishing vessels. To see exactly how this watery graveyard earned its reputation, we actually have to go way back, way before the era of modern flight and radar. The weirdness begins all the way back in 1492, when Christopher Columbus noted in his log that his compass was acting strangely and even spotted a bizarre light on the horizon, like a small wax candle. Jump to 1881, and the Ellen Austin cargo ship reportedly finds an abandoned ghost ship. When they put their own men aboard to salvage it, a fog rolls in and their crew completely vanishes. Then, in 1918, the massive USS Cyclops vanished. And in 1945, Flight 19, a squadron of 5 Navy torpedo bombers, got totally lost, ominously radioing that they were entering white water before disappearing forever. To really cement the terrifying magnitude of that 1918 tragedy, consider this haunting quote from U.S. President Woodrow Wilson regarding the USS Cyclops. This was a 542-foot-long Navy cargo ship carrying over 300 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore. And it vanished without ever sending a single SOS signal. It remains the largest loss of life in U.S. naval history not directly related to combat. You can definitely see how these genuine, heartbreaking historical tragedies created a fertile breeding ground for a myth. Section 2. Aliens, Atlantis, and Hype. So, following World War II, we entered the Cold War era. It was a time of massive anxiety, secret government projects, and a booming fascination with the unexplained. And this is exactly how the modern myth was manufactured. In 1964, a writer named Vincent Gaddis officially coined the term Bermuda Triangle in a pulp publication called Argosy magazine, connecting all these disparate historical vanishings into one grand conspiratorial fantasy. Then, in 1974, Charles Berlitz published a book simply titled The Bermuda Triangle. He pushed wild theories about the lost city of Atlantis pulling ships down and underwater portals transcending space and time. Well, Berlitz's book sold a mind-blowing 20 million copies. His theories were so incredibly popular, they directly inspired Steven Spielberg to depict those missing Flight 19 pilots as alien abductees in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Section 3. Plausible scientific suspects. Because as much as aliens and Atlantis are super fun to think about, there is actual plausible Earth science at play in this specific region. Let's start with magnetic declination. This is basically the variation between magnetic north, which shifts around, and true geographic north, which is static. Now, there's an imaginary line on Earth called the Agomaic line, where these two actually align perfectly. What's fascinating is that in the past, the Agomaic line did pass right through the Bermuda Triangle. But scientists tracked this stuff, and due to a westward drift, that line now sits securely in the Gulf of Mexico. So while compass variation was for sure a real hurdle for early explorers like Columbus, modern claims that it causes planes to vanish today are just largely inaccurate. Navigators have known how to compensate for this for a really long time. The real monsters of the Bermuda Triangle are actual environmental hazards. First off, this area is ground zero for devastating hurricanes. Then you've got rogue waves, these freak walls of water that can reach up to 100 feet tall, easily capable of just snapping a ship in half. You also have the Gulf Stream traveling right along the western edge. It's incredibly swift and turbulent, moving at 4 to 5 knots. To put that into perspective, that is 300 times faster than the Amazon River. That current can throw a boat hundreds of miles off course and rapidly erase any wreckage. Finally, scientists recently discovered massive deep-sea craters off the coast of Norway, caused by methane gas blowouts. While it's incredibly unlikely to be the main culprit here, some theorists suggest similar giant, explosive burps of death from the ocean floor in the Caribbean could theoretically sink a ship. Section 4. The fabulously unremarkable truth.
All right, we've looked at the history, the hype, and the environment. Now let's pull the mask off this monster using undeniable hard shipping and aviation data. When researchers analyzed over 150,000 marine casualty records spanning from 1982 to 2015, they found around 9,000 global incidents. Out of those, only 4% happened within the Bermuda Triangle. But here is the most stunning takeaway of all. Between 1982 and 2015, there were literally 0 incidents classified as disappearances within the triangle. 0. And if we look at modern data from Lloyd's List in 2021, it gets even more definitive. In a single year, 8,634 boats passed through the Bermuda Triangle. Out of all those thousands of voyages, there were only 2 casualties. That leaves us with an unbelievably tiny casualty rate of 0.02%. When you compare this directly to the rest of the world, the myth just completely shatters. The average global shipping casualty rate is roughly 1.8%. The Bermuda Triangle's rate, 0.02%. The math proves that the Bermuda Triangle is incredibly, and ironically, 90 times safer than sailing in average global waters. If you really want to know where the actual dangerous waters are today, you have to look at the South China Sea and the Philippines, which rank number 1 due to severe weather and heavy traffic. The East Mediterranean and Black Sea come in second. The Bermuda Triangle? It doesn't even make the top 10 list of dangerous ocean regions. And let's quickly debunk the aviation myths using data from the National Transportation Safety Board. What really happened to Flight 19? Well, transcripts prove the lead pilot, Lieutenant Taylor, thought his compass malfunctioned and mistakenly believed he was over the Florida Keys. He was actually over the Bahamas, kept flying east into the deep Atlantic, ran out of fuel, and tragically ditched. It was purely human error. Today, most incidents in the area are just standard takeoff and landing issues near the Bahamas. In fact, since 1965, there has only been 1 documented commercial flight incident over Bermuda, and that was just a JetBlue flight hitting severe turbulence. So there you have it. Far from being a paranormal portal, the Bermuda Triangle is simply a heavily trafficked, occasionally stormy, but ultimately fabulously unremarkable stretch of ocean. It's a brilliant example of how human psychology, historical tragedies, and a few clever authors can totally manufacture a global myth. But data always tells the true story, which leaves us with this final provocative thought. If one of the world's greatest mysteries can be so cleanly solved by just looking at the hard data, what legendary mysteries should we be pointing our spreadsheets at next? Thanks for joining me on this